right, let's get this Instagram feed up and running. And here we go. All right, there we go. I am Coach James. I am the creator of and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics, which is a science program that uses Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about a range of science and physics-related topics, including, but not limited to, friction, force, aerodynamics, drag, lift, Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, kinetic energy, potential energy, elastic force. After we have conducted experiments to drive home all of those concepts, then and only then do I bring in about 400 different Hot Wheels cars, and each student gets the opportunity to select the Hot Wheels car they think would be fastest in a series of races based on everything that they have learned in the course. After they have selected their cars, they weigh their cars, they test the speed of their cars, they check the year the car was manufactured, the materials the car is made from. All of the information that they can observe, they document that in a spreadsheet. And once they have documented the car's information, once they have learned all the science, all that's left to do is conduct the experiment. And to do that, they set up a 1/64 scale quarter-mile drag strip and race the cars and observe how those cars perform. Did their car perform up to or below their expectations? And if they had the opportunity, would they select that car again? Or would they make a different choice based on everything that they have observed? In the end, we have fun with Hot Wheels cars, and we learn science. What could be better? If you would like more information about our science program, All About Aerodynamics, all you have to do is go to our website, aerodynamics.com, and all of the information you need is there. Or you can follow us on Instagram, Aerodynamics, and check the link in the bio. All the information that you need to contact me is there, and we can discuss how to bring our program to your school or your organization or your special event. But this is not all about aerodynamics. This is All About Aerodynamics presents Wind Tunnel Wednesday. So what is Wind Tunnel Wednesday? Well, it is when we have an opportunity to take our Hot Wheels cars, and in some cases Matchbox cars, and put them inside the 1/64 scale wind tunnel, otherwise known as the Windsible, made by Funtech Labs. And once we do that, we turn on the air, we see how it flows over, under, and around those cars. We can get an idea about how much drag is likely to impact the car's performance when it races. Well, when do the cars race? This side. If you're watching the widescreen, this side. The cars race every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific on AtTheTrack.live, where we introduce new cars into our fleet, and we give people the opportunity to participate, to race against those cars. Well, how do you do that? Well, all you have to do is go to the link at the bottom of the screen, right there, AtTheTrack.live. They're going to have 3 options once you get there. There is a YouTube stream link, a Twitch stream link, and a, what's the other? Oh, the third link, the most important link, is the one that says choose your car. When you select that one, you will be taken to this page, in this series of pages, where all of the cars that are currently in the All About Aerodynamics AtTheTrack.live fleet are listed, numbered, cataloged, and ready to race. So all you have to do is find the car you think would be faster than the other cars that are introduced on Saturday, that I introduced from storage, that other viewers have picked, and you take the number of the car and you drop that into the chat. Once you do that, then I will pull that car, and just like that, you are entered into the race. But today, if you do that, if you select one of our cars, you will be able to see that car in the wind tunnel. And seeing the car in the wind tunnel does have some advantages. If it's, for the majority of our cars, when we put them into the wind tunnel and see how the air flows over, under, and around, we can get an idea about how we think the car will perform on the actual racetrack, because drag is the most important force that's impacting these cars. And if you can tell that a car has a bad aerodynamic profile, that it's going to experience a lot of drag, well, then you pretty much know that that car is going to be slow on the track. Or if it's not going to be slow initially, that towards the back end of the track, it will be impacted and it won't be good. What will happen is the car will start to slow down on the back end of the track. That is what we see with cars with poor aerodynamic profiles and that demonstrate a lot of drag in the wind tunnel. So it's not always 100%. It's not an exact science. But for the most part, if a car is pretty traditionally shaped, then the wind tunnel does give pretty solid information. But we have so many different types of cars in our fleet. We have fantasy cars, we have character cars, we have just a range of styles and types of cars that when we get into some of the more bizarre styles of car, the wind tunnel doesn't necessarily help us all that much because there are usually, on the fantasy cars, so many strange, odd angles and shapes that we're really not able to tell exactly how the air is going to be flowing over, under, and around these cars. So, for example, if we take a car like this one, the Vampira, obviously this is a fantasy car. It's not shaped like any car we would see on the road. And the air is going to flow over this car if it differently, whether we're talking about flowing over the center of the car or to the left or the right, where it's got those kind of vampire bat or dragon claws covering parts of the wheels, and then it's got the wings and the back. So all of those things combined just suggest that this is a very unusual car, obviously, but it tells us that whatever we see in the wind tunnel is not necessarily going to be the definitive answer, versus if we take a car that's just a more traditional standard car. Let me just find one here, like this one, this 63 Chevy. What we see in the wind tunnel is pretty much going to give us the information that we need, because this car is, unlike the Vampira, this car, if you put it in the wind tunnel and the air streams flow down the center of the car, well, that's fine. It's not really going to change if you move that airstream to the left or to the right, because this car is just a standard car that is symmetrical, and pretty much there's not really going to be a change. But with some of our fantasy cars, from left to right and center, there are some extreme differences. I don't even know. This one, this hovering out. This one, I'm not even sure what this is supposed to be. Some kind of hovercraft device flying thing. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, but whatever it's supposed to be, putting it in the wind tunnel is not really going to help us know how we should expect this car to perform. Same thing with this one, the Road Cannibal. Just a bizarre car with lots of strange angles, and the air is going to be flowing differently over the left and right sections than it is in the center. It's just how it is. So there are lots of things to consider, and when we put these cars in the wind tunnel, what we see in the wind tunnel is just one of the considerations to make. So we will see. But if there is a car that you want to see in the wind tunnel, all you have to do is take that number of that car. In the case of the Road Cannibal, 332. Take that, you drop it in the chat. I will pull the car, and then once I pull the car, then we will throw it in the wind tunnel and see exactly what we see. So you're selecting a car that's ultimately going to race on AtTheTrack.live on Saturdays, and you are going to be entered into a tournament. That tournament is going to consist of cars that I'm introducing new into the fleet, cars that other viewers have picked, and those cars will engage in a tournament. Best 2 out of 3 races on our 1/64 scale quarter-mile drag strip. And the winning cars will advance and ultimately will come out with a winning car. The car that wins will have the opportunity to go up against our fastest in fleet car. And our fastest in fleet car currently is this one. It is, get it in focus, adds to a little bit of the drama. It is this car. It is the BlitzSpeeder. The BlitzSpeeder is the fastest Hot Wheels car that we have in our fleet right now. The fastest Hot Wheels car in the world as far as I'm concerned until I am shown otherwise. It is a 4-time AtTheTrack.live fastest in fleet champion. That means if it's been champion 4 times, it has been beaten 3 times. And so there are a few cars that have had the BlitzSpeeder's number, namely the what was the first one? The Gazella R has beaten the BlitzSpeeder, but then the BlitzSpeeder came back and defeated the Gazella. There was the Dogfighter, which the BlitzSpeeder was never able to come back and beat. And then there was the Mercedes-Benz 500E, which ultimately was beaten. And then through a bunch of twists and turns, the BlitzSpeeder ended up challenging whatever the current fastest in fleet car was at the time. And since then, it has been back on top and has not really had too many close races. And there's a definite reason for that, because the BlitzSpeeder has one of the best aerodynamic profiles of any car that we've ever put in the wind tunnel. I'm not going to say one of the best, the best. We have not seen a car with a better aerodynamic profile than the BlitzSpeeder ever. This is it for right now. So we may find a car with a better profile, but I don't know if it can be better. It could probably be as good. The real question with the BlitzSpeeder, though, is if a car is going to be competitive with the BlitzSpeeder, give the BlitzSpeeder some kind of competition, what will that car look like? Now, the Dogfighter did beat the BlitzSpeeder, and the Dogfighter is just the strangest, fastest car that we've had, but because it's not sitting here as fastest in fleet champion, that means the Dogfighter was beaten, and it was beaten. And in a roundabout way, the car that beat the beat the Dogfighter ended up as champion and ultimately being beaten by the BlitzSpeeder. So we're going to put the BlitzSpeeder in the wind tunnel first, which is our tradition, because the fastest in fleet car always goes in. Because if it is the fastest in fleet car, it suggests there is something going on aerodynamically that makes this car much better than the others. So we are going to take this car and swing on over here to the wind tunnel. The Windsible. You can get yours at Funtech Labs. They have a 1/64 scale version, which is this one, the one for Hot Wheels and smaller die-cast cars. And then they have it's either a 1/18 scale version, which is much bigger and about twice the cost. And it is, if those are the cars you collect, it's kind of a cool thing. It's a cool thing to look at, and it's perfect for us with regard to all about aerodynamics, because this is what we do. And this kind of illustrates a lot of the concepts and principles. But let's go ahead and fire up the Windsible and take a look at the BlitzSpeeder. The BlitzSpeeder's aerodynamic profile. And what you're always looking for in terms of a car in a wind tunnel is whether or not the air is going to separate from following along the lines of the body of the car. So right now we're at 67 miles per hour, our cruising speed. Going to turn that up a bit, pushing that to 94 miles per hour. Let's go up even higher, 107 miles per hour. And the area you're looking at that you should be focused on is this first airstream right here. It's coming out, hitting the nose of the car right on the hood, coming up the hood, and then up the hood to the windshield, to the roof line, and across the back until it comes off that tail. And what you're not seeing is this first level of this first airstream separate from the body of the car, which you will see later on with some of the other cars that we test. So let's go ahead and push the speed up, because the faster an object moves through the air, the more drag has an impact. So now what we're doing is we've turned this up to 147 miles per hour, and you're still seeing that first airstream level hit the nose of the car, come up over the top, and still flow right along the hood, the windshield, the roof line. It is not separating. And that is key, because it helps by reducing the impact of drag. The BlitzSpeeder is able to maintain more of its forward momentum down the track and be faster than the other cars. And that is, we see that time and time again, week in and week out. And the BlitzSpeeder is just an amazing car from an aerodynamic standpoint. And whatever car is going to come in to beat the BlitzSpeeder is going to need to really step up and kind of take advantage of it's going to need an almost perfect aerodynamic profile. The Dogfighter beat it, and the Dogfighter is just such a strange thing, but it is designed after an airplane, and obviously airplanes, aerodynamics are key, but it's such a strange car that it's hard to really evaluate it. The Gazella R, however, has a very similar profile to the BlitzSpeeder, and it is also able to reduce the impact of drag. And by reducing the impact of drag, the cars can maintain more of their speed for longer down the track. There are a few other cars like the Slide Kick, the Formula Solar, that don't have anything across the top of the cars, and therefore there's nothing to interrupt that airflow. So they have a better chance of beating the BlitzSpeeder than some of the other cars that we have in our fleet. Now, that's the BlitzSpeeder. And this past Saturday, the BlitzSpeeder kind of had a bit of an easy time, because we ended up in a situation, hey, Virgo and Roughshod, no problem. Always here hanging out. Just doing the same old Wednesday thing. And so this Saturday, or this past Saturday, we had some cars that, well, I went into storage, and somehow just kind of, you can go back and watch the episode if you want. It's on our YouTube channel under the Live tab. But I ended up with trucks, these cargo trucks. And it started off because I was mentioning that I have collected a lot of these. Let me switch it over here. Right here. These ice cream trucks. It's called the Quick Bite. And Hot Wheels and Mattel, they just keep putting out, they put out different versions of this, and they just have different themes. So, for example, there's this one, which is the ice cream truck with the little ice cream vendor guy right there. Then they put out this version, which is the milk and cookies version, which also has a little vendor right there in the window. We have the hot chicken version of this, and same vendor, same window, different look slightly. And we have the Fuego Fajitas version, Fuego Fajitas truck, repping El Segundo, and same person in the window. So I had all those, and we actually have a Quick Bite in the fleet. But then I had this one that was from the 90s, and same basic theme. These other Quick Bite cars, the ones that I just showed, are, so like this one, the body is plastic and the base is metal. Well, this one from the 90s, the body is actually metal, and it's heavier, but you can see it sort of has the same general design, structure, and setup. There's the guy in the window right there. I don't know what this truck is selling, but the Rasta themed truck coming down the street. Anyway, this was going to be one of the cars that was going to race, since it was different than the other Quick Bite delivery cars. The problem was the wheels, look at those front wheels, don't roll. I don't know, and I took this right out of the package, but for whatever reason, these front wheels do not roll. And obviously, if the wheels don't roll, you can't roll down the track. So this car ended up being left off. I don't know what the issue is, and there's not really anything I can do, because the wheels are pretty much just grinding up against the top of the wheel well. So that one was out. But we had some other big trucks still lined up. We had this Cargo Courier's Matchbox. This one was a little too narrow to do well on the track, so it wasn't really, I mean, it was fast enough, but didn't really do a whole lot. We had this one, this Uncle Abe's Island Barbecue truck, also a matchbox, and that one was also not too impressive, because the Matchbox cars already have a tough time on our track. They're just not as fast as the Hot Wheels cars, and that's just how it is. And these, especially being big and narrow, didn't really get the job done. But I'm going to take this Uncle Abe's Island Barbecue truck and stick it into the wind tunnel, because all of the cars that we put in the wind tunnel and race are not always aerodynamically sound. And this is one. This is probably the worst of the worst. The worst anti-aerodynamic offender we've ever seen. But, you know, it's important to... We just saw the best with the BlitzSpeeder. Now we're going to see the worst. And what we should anticipate and expect is for all that air to just kind of build up right... I had a feeling it would do that. Just got to get this thing to stay put. So I think what we're going to see is all that air just build up right at the front of this thing. The grill, the windshield. But of course it's a food truck, so it's not meant to be fast. It's not meant to be... they didn't design it with aerodynamics in mind. Why would they? But we can see that this air flow, as we push this up to 107 miles per hour, the air hits right at the front and then has to climb up over the top of this vehicle. And once it gets up there, it's I guess these would be kind of like air vents on the top of the food trucks. And once it gets up there, it's not terrible, but the problem is all of this, and that the air is just pressing up. Well, it was until the Windsible decided to shut itself off. So let's go ahead and fire this back up. But if you look right at the beginning, right at the bumper, you can see the air kind of building up. And it's interesting because as I push this up to 107 miles per hour, you see this turbulence right here. You can see that air, that swirling air. So that air is hitting the grill, and then it has to go somewhere, over, under, and around. And in this case, some of the air is coming around the sides, and I'm going to see if I can turn this just a little bit, but you can see this is just, obviously, I mean, it doesn't take, this is like this is kind of an aerodynamics layup, in that you can tell before we even put the car in the wind tunnel how bad the aerodynamics are, because again, it's a food truck. It was not meant to go fast, and when we put it on the track on Saturday, it was fine against other food trucks and the cargo delivery truck, etc. But as soon as it raced a car or anything with even moderate aerodynamic efficiency, it got destroyed. But I will say that the airflow across the top is actually a lot better than I would have expected, just based on, one, the observations, and two, watching it race on the track on Saturday. And, if we ever come down to a food truck versus food truck carrier, cargo van kind of showdown, then, this one might have a chance. And the fact that the air is not detaching from the body of the car across the top could play a role in helping it to do well in that kind of race. But in the regular races, this thing doesn't stand a chance. We're up to 161 miles per hour. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to put one of those quick bite vehicles in there. There is one in the fleet that if someone, for whatever reason, I don't know why they would do that, but if they wanted to select the quick bite, any of them, they could. And let's go with we'll go with the Fuego Fajitas version of this thing, which also not helpful for this one in particular. We might not be able to see it unless I move this thing around. But the fact that it's got that huge window opening where the fajita salesperson fajita vendor is not really going to be helpful. But I'm more curious about. And so, first thing, so this is at 67 miles per hour, which is our basic cruising speed. But where you see this sort of bright white, that just goes to show that air is hitting a flat surface, building up, and then having to flow over, under, and around. But we can see the areas where that high pressure is going to build up, where that air is just essentially hitting a wall. And as we turn up the speed, 107 miles per hour, 121, it's just too much. And if we were to also kind of move this thing to the side, but we don't really get that that picture, what we end up with is the air also entering into these openings, entering into the window. It's just the same thing as if you're driving down the street or driving down the highway in your car, and you roll the windows down. That air's rushing in. And it's why you might as well just keep the air conditioner on, because if you're traveling down the road at a higher speed and you roll down the windows, it's going to end up, creating this drag that you're going to have to press a little harder on the accelerator, burn more gas. So you might as well just keep the windows up, turn the AC on, and reduce the impact of that additional drag. So Nothing out of the ordinary with this Fuego Fajitas truck, but it's still worth putting even the bad aerodynamic profile cars into the wind tunnel so that we can, just get an idea. With the BlitzSpeeder, we've seen the best. Now we're kind of looking at the opposite end of that spectrum. Let's see, rough shots going with 505 and 584. Cool. I will write that down, and I will be pulling those cars in just a minute. We're going to take a look at the this next one, this is one that we also raced on Saturday. Another one doesn't have a great aerodynamic profile. In fact, I would say it's got a bad one. But the point of a semi truck isn't to be fast. It's to pull a large load, and especially with this like old school cab over, it's not really with the flat front. You know, we're not really talking about anything that is going to burn up the track. However, this one was interesting because in terms of just racing on the track, it has all the weight is here in the front. This is metal, and then the rest of this is plastic. And when it gets pushed out of the launcher, this one had a kind of a bumpy ride, and it was kind of interesting to see. So again, if you want to check that out and see how it did on the track, you can go to our YouTube page and just find go to the live tab and at the track and just look it up. It's the most recent episode. Also, the link is in the bio on our Instagram account. And I am going to have to lift this one up because it will not stay put. And get it right here. I have a little magnet that you put in there to raise these cars up a bit. And this has kind of changed the profile. Like, it's with all that weight in the front, it's sort of now at a strange angle. But that's not really going to matter in the overall picture because of what this car is. This is the 1965 Ford C900. And I think we'll see exactly what we saw with the Quick Bite. We are just going to see that air build up right in the front. And this is at 94 miles per hour. And any place where you see that this air is getting where it's just bright white, it's where it's building up, and so it hits that front and then has to go somewhere over, under, around, and the air that's climbing up and going over comes over, and then at this part it just tails off because there's nothing left to follow. And so you see this swirling turbulent air that's creating drag, or that's basically the sort of visual representation of the drag that's being created, and it is not going to help this thing at all. You're talking about the front right here. When that air hits, it's creating higher pressure. Right here, where all the air is kind of breaking away from the body of this thing, area of lower pressure. And the air pressure, is going to try to move from areas of high pressure to low pressure. So from left to right. But this thing is going the other way. When it's going down the track, it's going from right to left. So you can see that pressure drag is working against the car's forward momentum. And no matter what kind of start this thing gets, on the back end of our track toward like the last third, you can always see cars with bad aerodynamic profiles slowing down. What it looks like on the track, it looks like the other car is speeding up. But what's really happening is the slower car is losing less speed. Yeah, it's a mess back there. All the turbulence. But see, it's why it's good to kind of put this kind of car or truck in here, because it makes it easier for the students to actually just kind of visualize and see what's going on. Like we'll see with some of the smaller cars and the sports cars and the hyper cars, we'll see the turbulent air, but because they're smaller, it will be much smaller. It won't be this visually evident. And this is only at 94 miles per hour. And as we know, drag increases with speed. So we're going to go ahead and push this up. Hey, Socks, how you doing? Oh, see, there it goes again. So let's go ahead and the Windsible. The Windsible is, I have a version 1.0, and it's a temperamental kind of thing. And sometimes it just decides to, like that. It just decides, I've had enough. I'm turning off for the moment, and usually sit there and come back and kind of ease it up at 67 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour, 94 miles per hour, 107, and 134. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab Roughshod's cars. Let's see, that was 505 and 584. Take a look at those, but before we do, we had one more truck in here on Saturday that was, it caused a lot of problems because of how the kinds of adjustments I had to make in order to get this thing on the actual track. So let me slow this one down. So we have the the tractor trailer. Well, we had this giant, the Hot Wheels Hiway Hauler, this one, and we raced this thing on the track. The whole point was, if we're going to be racing these cargo trucks and these semi trucks, it's like, hey, we might as well just throw everything in there. So the Hot Wheels Hiway Hauler, huge vehicle, very tall, probably the tallest vehicle that we have raced on the track. But this whole this whole trailer cargo area, it's just plastic. This is all plastic and it's empty. So this thing really isn't as heavy as it could be. It's definitely heavy, and it weighed in at about 50. No, it was only like 43 grams. But as big as it is, it's just one of those vehicles that has no business on a racetrack. But we decided we were going to put it on the racetrack, and it is so tall that I definitely can't use I don't think I can use the magnet, and it barely fits in here. But we're going to see, as long as it doesn't roll forward when I close this. Good. All right, I don't think we've ever had a vehicle this big taking up this much space in the wind tunnel. But unlike that 65 Ford C900 that we just looked at, this truck definitely has a more modern setup than the other trucks. Only in that it's got a slight angle right here. I guess technically that wouldn't be the hood, but just for descriptive purposes, we'll say right here on the little short hood to the windshield, and then there's even a little angle up to this visor. And this, or not visor, but this angle here on modern trucks, that is indeed for the purposes of aerodynamics, and so that the air can flow up, and then once it gets up to the top, it can flow across the back of this cargo area. And then this one even has a little wing on the back, which is kind of interesting. Now, if this thing were racing other big trucks of similar sizes, which it kind of was doing on Saturday, then, it might have, there might be something there. It might have a shot, but that's at 80 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and turn this up and see. Push this up to 134 miles per hour. Yeah, it's huge. It's definitely the biggest vehicle that we've had on the track. So there's definitely that. And it's not anything that we thought was going to be fast, but you just want to see how these things do. And I will say this, that at the very least, they did not pull a Grogu. All of these cars and trucks finished the races, and crossed the finish line. They didn't cross first, but they crossed, so there you go. All right, now we are going to get into, and wait, actually one last thing on this is when you look at this airflow right here, you see that the air that's hitting at the kind of at the top of the grill is coming up, hitting the windshield, and it's just climbing to the different levels, and it's not extremely turbulent. It's just hitting, coming up the windshield to this sort of transition between the top of the cab and this sloped, angled piece right up to the top. Now, obviously, this thing's so tall that we can't see what's happening above here, but this is a much better profile in the front here at this part, the upper part, than we saw on the other vehicles. But this area here, the large grill in the front, not helpful at all. So there we go. Yeah, it's not too bad, but let's go ahead and slow this down and start talking about cars that may have a shot to knock off the BlitzSpeeder. And Roughshod has picked, let me see, what is this? A Jaguar D Type for one of the cars he's considering. Let's go ahead and switch back over to here. The Jaguar D Type, and he says that he found it's similar to the Chaparral 2, and it is. I think I got these at the same time, at the same swap meet, and it is a metal car. It's metal on metal, just like the Chaparral 2. It is on the smaller side. I don't know if it's as small as the Chaparral 2, but it's pretty small. Not really a lot up top to interrupt that airflow, which is always a great sign. And let me see. Just got to plug in one of my lights. And it's got this unique element back by the driver's compartment in this fin. But let's go ahead and throw this in the wind tunnel and take a look at this Jaguar D Type. You can look right there. You can kind of see how thin that this little fin is. So I don't think that's going to really present a problem. The driver's compartment there is open, but not. Oh wait, there's a different one. Let's see. This is number 50. I thought that was 505. Let me check. Let's check here and take a look. And I need to go back to page 3. Let's see. 505. Let's see. 505. 505. 505 is this one. Which, let me see. Which one were you? Not that one. The other one. 50. So this is 505. And oh, I see. Wait. 505. All right. I think there was some confusion. So this is the one. So this is one of the ones. This is one of the ones he's considering. So we're gonna throw it in the wind tunnel and take a look and see what it has to offer. Let's see. Let's get it right here. Make sure this thing is lined up properly. And it is. Oh, okay. The second one's closer to the Shepherd. Okay, I see. I got you. All right, let's fire this up. We're hitting our cruising speed of 67 miles per hour. and pretty much like we thought. The air just flows right over the top. Now, this one, well, the air was flowing over the top. Let's go ahead and see what the Windsible's playing around. Come on, Windsible, stay on. Let's go. All right, well, let's give it a second. The thing is, what I was going to show, and that will give me a chance to move the car, is that center line right there is where the air is going to flow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this car over so that the air actually flows across that driver's compartment, because that's the area that's going to be kind of interesting. And we'll see if we see anything unique there. So let me just slide this over a little bit, because we already know that in the part of the car that's flat, this whole area, nothing's going to happen. The air is going to come up and flow right across there, and we might see something a little interesting on the back end, but nothing too unique. But we need to see what's happening where that driver's compartment is. So let's go ahead and fire this up. 67 miles per hour, cruising speed. Let's go ahead and turn it up a little bit more. 121 miles per hour. We are now, you can kind of see a little bit of turbulence. It's not as clear. This is exactly what I meant with the with that truck, with that C900. It made this more visual, but you can see right here, right in that driver's compartment, that the air is kind of swirling around. There's some turbulence right there. You can see it. It's just harder to see, but that is exactly what's happening. That airflow is coming up over it's hitting right at the nose, coming up over the hood, flowing along, and then it hits this little visor, this little short windshield, and then it comes up over the top, and then there's that opening where the driver's compartment is, and you just see that air swirling around. Now, is that so significant that it's going to have an impact on this car and slow it down? I would say probably not. It probably wouldn't have that big of an impact. But if you have a really, really close race, some of these small things can make a difference. But I think for the most part, let's go ahead and bring this up over the top. Yeah, not really seeing too much that's problematic right there. Air's just flowing right over the top. But from this angle, it's always about the angles, we can see that there is a bit of that disruption. And this is at 147 miles per hour. And this is the Jaguar D Type. And it is coming in as a metal-on-metal car. If this is the car that Roughshod picks on, then on Saturday we will weigh the car just to get a little more information about it before we hit the track. But that is one of the cars he's considering. The other one is interesting. Okay, this one, hang on, let me switch over. Slow this down. There we go. And looking at this one, the Lancia Stratos. And this is another car. So this is the one that he was saying gave him kind of those Chaparral 2 vibes, or inspired by. And I don't know. Oh, well, I thought for a second this had faster than ever wheels, which it doesn't. But it is a metal body on a plastic base. It is very compact. Now, the fact that it's a metal body on a plastic base, where that Jaguar D Type and the Chaparral 2 are both metal on metal. And I think with the Chaparral 2, it was interesting because it's metal on metal, it's heavy, but it was able to move down the track pretty quickly, because sometimes you get cars that are light, and if they're too light, then drag is going to get to those cars too, and it's going to slow them down toward the back end of the track. And we see that all the time. So when you do pick a car that's smaller, it's important and it's helpful, from what we've seen, that it has some weight to it. With this one being all metal, I think if I'm going to pick a metal or a smaller car, I definitely want it to be, at the very least, have a metal body, not a plastic body. If you have a small car with a plastic body on a metal base, it's going to be light. And there is a point on our track where cars are too light, and it just doesn't do them any benefit on the track. What happens is they start to slow down. And there's really two types of cars that we see slow down toward the back end. I guess technically, I think I'm going to have to put this on the magnet. I think technically we could say three, but cars with bad aerodynamic profiles tend to slow down on the track toward the back end. Drag just eats them alive. And then we have the cars that are too light. And cars that are too light also tend to slow down towards the back end. And that is, they might start off great, but that drag is just going to take them out. And when I say too light, I'm talking about cars in the mid to low 20s. Especially if you're under 25 grams, you're really pushing your luck on our track. It's just the car's not likely to be able to sustain its speed. All right, so what we're seeing here with the Lancia Stratos, we're at 107 miles per hour, is that air is hitting right at the bumper, coming up over the hood to the windshield. Everything looks good. Comes up to the roof line. Things are still looking good. And then this thing drops off. So it drops off in a traditional way with the back windshield area. And when it does that, this air is no longer flowing down along the body of the car down to this to that big spoiler. It is instead just breaking off, which is why you see it kind of fluttering. The stream gets wider, and we get this turbulence because the air is no longer just flowing along the body of the car. And part of that is because, let me turn the speed up, pushing this up to 134 miles per hour. Now you can see the air is just flowing off. And it's not the worst, but with a car that's kind of light, well, it's small. I'm not sure what the weight is. The metal body is definitely going to help, but you can see the difference with the BlitzSpeeder is the BlitzSpeeder doesn't drop off at the back. The BlitzSpeeder's roof line continues all the way to the back, so that airflow never has a chance to break away from following along the lines of the body of the BlitzSpeeder. Here, everything's good in the front, we're good in the middle, we get to the roof line, but when we get to the back, that air is just kind of tailing off. And the question is, how much will that impact this car's performance? I think a lot of it's really going to come down to the weight. And if this car is light, if it's too light, then I can see it's going to slow down toward the back end. But if it's heavy enough, it could have enough momentum coming out of the launcher that by the time any of this matters, this drag that it's experiencing, by the time that comes into play, the race is over and this car has already won. So this is exactly what All About Aerodynamics is about. And after the students learn about all these concepts and principles and ideas, and they pick their cars, and they look at their cars and have all this information, they make a guess, like I just did. I'm guessing about how I think this car is going to perform. If Roughshod picks this car and we put it on the track, we're going to see on Saturday how it performs. And then we take that, what we observed, how it performed, and compare that with what we thought. What are the differences? Were we accurate? Were we off? What was the what did we see versus what we thought? And then we think about it and analyze it, and that is essentially what All About Aerodynamics is. So if you have a school or organization, especially if you're in the Los Angeles area, go to our website, aerodynamics.com, and read up and see about our program. And if you're a parent, if you're an administrator, then get in contact with me, and we can hopefully bring our program to your school. And the students will have a blast with science and Hot Wheels. And we do that too. We're up to 161 miles per hour. The Lancia Stratos. Very interesting. Very interesting. I think it's just going to come down. Oh, and look at the Windsible. The Windsible decided, all right, you've seen enough. So I guess with that, we're taking a look at the Lancia Stratos. And or is it going to be the Jaguar? Roughshod has got a choice to make, but he can make it today. He's got a couple of days to think about it. But we are going to have these cars on the track, and this is what we do every Saturday. We take these cars, put them on the track. It's the 1/64 scale quarter-mile drag strip. If you've never seen our races, we race on a flat drag track. It is not a gravity track. What that means is we have a custom launcher. We have a track that is flat. These are the fastest races, the fastest Hot Wheels races that you will see, that I've seen online. And I am always looking at different channels, trying to see which cars they have, which cars are the fastest. And 9 times out of 10, they're gravity tracks. They're also those wider tracks where the cars can like spin around and go backwards, and there might be jumps in there or loop, all kinds of things. That's all fine. That's all cool. I like all kinds of Hot Wheels racing. But our track is all about speed, straight speed, Hot Wheels speed. That's it. If your car is the fastest, we're going to know it's the fastest. It's not going to be fastest because it happened to get momentum going down the thing and coming around the turn. None of that. It comes from the launcher. 1/64 scale quarter-mile drag strip. If your car can make it down that and beat out the other cars, it is the fastest. The BlitzSpeeder is absolutely faster than, other than those 3 cars that beat it. And the Gazella doesn't count because the BlitzSpeeder came back and beat the Gazella. So now we're just talking about the Dogfighter and that Mercedes are the only 2 cars that have beaten the BlitzSpeeder. Other than that, and those cars were beaten. So other than that, the BlitzSpeeder is, even if it's not the fastest Hot Wheels car in the world, it is one of. And we're always sort of in that chase to find the next fastest car. And Roughshod is going with this Lancia Stratos, and this is going to be the car that he puts to the test on Saturday. You are welcome to make a selection as well. All you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, select the choose your car option, and then just find the car that you want to race. Take that number, drop it in the chat, and I will pull that car on Saturday, and just like that, you'll be introduced into the tournament. I've been going through my storage, and we're starting to run into a lot of duplicate cars. So we're actually moving through the cars that I have in storage a lot faster than I anticipated. So that means I'm going to have to start going out to some swap meets and some other things and start looking for some older cars from back between the time, like before my son was born, when I wasn't thinking about Hot Wheels cars. So I had Hot Wheels cars as a kid. Then when I was a teenager and like younger, didn't really collect them. Had my son we got into Hot Wheels again, and then all about aerodynamics, and I'm still into Hot Wheels. So there is a gap where I can find lots of Hot Wheels cars that I don't have, but I have to go out and find them. So either way, we're going to be introducing new cars into our fleet. We are up to 1,060 cars. 1,060 cars for you to choose from. Odds are that there's 1, 2, 3 cars, maybe more, faster than the BlitzSpeeder, but we have to find it. It might be this Lancia Stratos. It might be the car that you pick. It might be one of the cars that I pull out of storage. I don't know, but we are going to find out. So that is Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific at the Track Live. We will also be back here next Wednesday, Wind Tunnel Wednesday. We're going to put the cars into the wind tunnel, take a look at some of the cars that raced on Saturday. Then we'll put them in the wind tunnel. And in the case of the Lancia Stratos, we've seen it in the wind tunnel. Now we'll see it on the track. But we'll be back here next Wednesday to kind of analyze those things and take a little bit more of a scientific look at Hot Wheels racing and what's going on. And then, of course, I already mentioned all about aerodynamics, our science program. And we also have 24/7 Hot Wheels Lo-Fi video channel. It is on YouTube, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just videos of Hot Wheels cars and some chill music in the back. You can throw it on in the background and just let it play. Bring some Hot Wheels atmosphere to your environment. So that is it. Wind Tunnel Wednesday at the Track Live, all about aerodynamics, 24/7 Lo-Fi Hot Wheels channel. I am Coach James, and until next time, I will see you at the races.